Well, good afternoon and welcome to another Derek's Travel Chats for March 18th, 2021. I'm Derek Windsor, your host and the owner of E&B Travel Services here in St. John's, Newfoundland. This show has been developed to share information about travel, destinations around the world, and how you can plan your next vacation for post-pandemic. This week, we passed a 1-year milestone since the world went into the stay home and non-essential travel mode. And for many seasoned travelers, it's been a long year, and most that I know are ready to get going as soon as the vaccines are distributed and the borders are open to non-essential travel again. Today on the show, I have the pleasure of 4 people who have, over the last several years, been enjoying their semi-retirement and traveling to and filling many destinations from their bucket list. Back in 2018, I had the pleasure of assisting them plan and design, I think it was about a 20-day plus itinerary that included 4 different countries in Europe, as well as then I joined with them to help them with a guided tour of Trail of the Caribou in France and Belgium. I would like now to welcome Kevin and Michelle Sullivan and Paul and Gail Hamilton to the show. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome, Derek. Hi, Paul. Hi, Gail.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
So how was Paddy's Day for everybody?
I've had lamb stew, and Mick, who, okay, she's Michelle, but she's Mick to me. She would only have beef stew, which I suppose if you're a townie and not a bayman or a bay wop, then I suppose that's acceptable.
There you go.
Absolutely. But the Irish stew, you can't beat it with the lamb.
With
Right
the lamb
on,
or the lambs.
Yeah, St. Patrick's Day is pretty special in our family because our daughter was married on St. Patrick's Day. So we have lots of anniversaries and decorations and the like left from that celebration. So it's a pretty special time, especially when you have the name of Sullivan. There you go.
Oh, there you go. Well, as I said in my preamble, we've gone 1 year now with travel being non-essential travel being banned, and I know over the last several years, the 4E and plus some other guests of yours have gone to many different places, and thankfully, some of those I've helped you with the planning of that. So, how has it personally affected you with regard to wanting to be able to travel, but know that you can't right now?
Well, let me start by saying that 4 days ago, on March 14th, 2020, we came home after being kicked out of Morocco. So, and apart from a trip which the 4 of us took to the South Coast to Terrenceville and Galtas, we haven't been anywhere. We have such itchy feet right now that make us going from Easter Island to Valletta in Malta. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, because I know Easter Island is at probably top of the bucket list for Michelle. So
It's been on there for quite a while, Derek. Yeah, probably dates back to when I read the Kon-Tiki when I was about 16. So yeah, it's been around for a while.
And
Gail, what
I know
were you
last
guys
year
talking
you
about going
you attend.
on the train?
Shh, don't overtalk.
Sorry,
Sorry?
Gail. I said, weren't you talking about doing a train trip through the Rockies?
At one point we were,
This Thursday
still on the
night.
list somewhere. So is Greece, the Mediterranean. And as you said, not being able to go, the things we do now are think about where we'd like to go and how we'd like to get there. It's been an interesting year in terms of being able to sit back and think about some of those things, but it's been a terrible year in terms of not being able to get up and go and do things. However, we're very fortunate here because we're safe.
Yeah.
You know, notwithstanding the recent outbreak here, you know, Newfoundland and Labrador has been a really positive place to be from a COVID perspective. So you can't complain about that when health is everything, really.
No, and with that train trip on Rocky Mountain,
Mm-hmm.
should let you know they actually have a good Canadian special on for domestic travel in 2021 for that. So just
Okay.
a little side comment when you mentioned the train again. So
Well, if we're allowed to travel in 2021, we will be traveling, Derek, and we will be relying on you and others like you to make sure that the trip is well planned and well executed.
For sure, traveling within Canada is safer than traveling outside of Canada.
For this
True.
year, yeah.
Yeah, my expectation is that once we are able to do some non-essential travel, that our first forays will be within Canada. Probably the West Coast, where we have lifetime friends and Kevin's family members. So we're really looking forward to that. It's something that we've thought about and talked about on our own, and also with Gail and Paul many times. So yeah, that's definitely a 2021. My comfort level in terms of out of country travel probably does not include 2021 and may or may not include 2022, depending on what the worldwide situation is like.
yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with the rollout of the vaccine and how it's done in different countries. And again, you know, the whether or not companies, I know cruise lines, for instance, are in order to keep them safe, are actually will be having a requirement of having proof of the vaccine before people go on board.
Yeah.
Will it be guaranteed? No, but for a lot of people, it will give passengers a level of comfort to know that there's certain protocols that are being kept and being adhered to. So,
Well, there's a few additional things to add to that, Derek, and I don't know how the rest of you feel, but my view is that you should not be allowed to show up at a border crossing, whether it's airport or a road, unless you have proof that you've been immunized in the past, whatever, 8 months or 12 months, because all you are is a liability to everybody else around you. Secondly, for cruise ships that some of those hold 5,000 or 6,000 people, there should be what I'm going to call a room on board where you can go to any day or any time you wish to get a test. And with the way that these test results can be easily obtained, there's no reason not to. It's just
yeah,
part
I
of the
know
cost.
in some of the interviews I've done with cruise ship industry, uh, even right now, like just for some of them, inside rooms are not being utilized.
Mm-hmm.
So wherever there's a circulation of air that people, and a lot of the cruise ships are going with, 50, 60% capacity. So it does a couple of things. One, gives people a lot of room to be able to move around. But two, secondly, it also provides another level of comfort that you're not crammed into all different small spaces. There's lots of room around the pool when you need to be, and so on. So a lot of companies are hotels are doing the same thing. 50% capacity for the next, at least till 2022 for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, Paul and Gail, with your place in Hawaii, I can see a lot more people using that type of facility or going to their own facility, much more so than I can seeing the sandals or is it the Cuban sunshine trips. I, I think that people will stay away from large crowds for a while. Yes,
Yeah, yeah, I
which
think
makes
so.
your place, makes your place invaluable.
It does, but you still have to fly to get there, and it's still in the U.S. So,
As US goes, I guess Hawaii's one of the better places to go to, being an island.
Yeah.
and a friend of ours who lives and works in Hawaii um, says that the measures they have going through Hawaii right now are pretty strict. So when we are allowed to go there, it probably won't be far down on the bucket list. After visiting our daughter and son-in-law and granddaughter in Toronto, of course, that would be the first trip we're planning. But
Well, family trips are always the
mhm,
most important to be able to take right now. So once
mhm,
all starts to open up again.
yeah.
Derek, what I'm going to call the bus line side of travel, are the companies looking at smaller buses and smaller crowds, or are people still going to be forced to line up at 7 a.m. on a 60-passenger bus? And
No, for the most part, the three main companies that I deal with are working at 60% capacity as well. Um, and so that the social distancing, they also are putting on what they call a health and safety person on board. So that person will check with all passengers and members of that coach on a regular basis. Uh, if anyone has a temperature or anyone has feeling, the person makes sure that the coach is cleaned properly after every day. They will change in that, normally a porter will take your bags. They've stepped that back and said, we want to make sure we protect your bag. So if you really need assistance, we'll have someone there, but we ask you to look after your own bag. So it just cuts down on the number of touches by people who don't need to really be handling certain things.
Mhm,
They still make sure that they'll set out your keys to your room when you get to a place, and they're all very lined up there. No one is passing them to you. You go over and you take your keys from a particular spot because they're very well marked and so on. And then when it comes to tours, they'll break up the number of people. So if you're going to a particular site, say you're in Rome and you want to go to the Vatican, uh, instead of going, say, with 40 people, you're probably going with 12. And they break up their groups that way. Okay.
well, that's good.
Yeah. So a lot of it's been a real learning experience for a lot of companies. And, I've been spending a lot of time over the last year working with these companies and talking with them just to make sure that they're working with the CDC guidelines around the world, and just to make sure that people have a comfort level for when they're ready to go back to travel.
Mhm.
And not everybody's going to go back right away, but you
No.
know, the one of the key things is that people came back, and there's a lot of what they call future travel credits now because people couldn't go last year.
Mhm.
There's an anxiety among some travelers. Uh, I need to travel as soon as I can afterwards because I'm afraid the company may go bankrupt. Right.
Yeah, good
well,
point. Yeah.
on that note, the four of you are talking about non-essential travel. I look upon travel as essential. It's it's part of a societal satisfaction. It's part of a mental health satisfaction, and it's fun at the same time. And as a result, it's necessary. So you can all be Scrooges if you like, and say
I
it's
know,
not.
I tend to agree with you, Kevin. I mean, I do see it as essential. I mean, I haven't traveled now for 18 months. Uh, and you know,
Mhm.
from a mental health standpoint, there's no doubt about it. It's essential for people to be able who are have that desire to go and whatever. That it is a big mental health issue. I mean, I only use the word non-essential because it's a government. It's the way the government term has determined it and qualifies their levels of being essential, non-essential travel. Right. And until we
Right.
get down to what the government calls level three, um, it's it will take a while before people will go back and again the government has put a lot of things in place, having to quarantine 14 days when you
That's a
come
big
back in the
one.
country, really, and then you have to do it at a designated place where they have said at a very expensive cost. So you know, I guess in one way they've really curtailed travel for the time being,
Mhm.
and hopefully that domestic travel that people like yourselves are targeting will open up, either this summer or maybe this fall. Right?
Yeah, wine tasting in the Okanagan would be lovely, or Niagara, something like that. Maybe in 2021 in the fall, but certainly I can't see outside of Canada in 2021.
Unless it's the
Well,
wine.
So
go ahead.
outside of traveling in Canada, I know Michelle, uh, we we kind of know where your bucket list is too. Is there anywhere else? Are there other places that the four of you would like to be able to go? Because I know one of your having planned a couple of your trips in the last couple of years, it's the relaxation of being able to be in one spot,
Mm.
uh, you know, rent a villa or a place that you can also look after your own meals and do your own thing. So is there things that, you think listeners would like to know on how you
Well,
travel?
yeah, we've certainly talked about, as a foursome and also including Gail and Paul's daughter, Julia, and her husband who live in Toronto, um, a desire to go to the Champagne district in France. And there I would anticipate that we might look for something similar to the accommodation that we had when we were
The Dordogne.
in the Dordogne area with you, Derek, when we were in the Beaumont Hamel
No,
district,
no, Bordeaux.
in the Bordeaux district. Okay, sorry, I'm not necessarily a.
North or south.
Okay, let's not worry about that. The
Ah,
long and the short of it being that that would certainly be along the lines of our previous travel. Having a home base and being close enough to sites and nice restaurants that we can make choices about whether we go out to eat or eat in, and have the pleasure of relaxation around a nice pool or a deck area. Paul is a tremendous barbecue aficionado, so we often lean on him to market and come up with the
mhm.
menus, and always enjoy that side of things. Yeah, I certainly see that being an option. Um, the concept of going to a place like Corfu and or Malta and coming in, especially we've been to Malta before, but coming into Malta on a ship would be absolutely
To die
breathtaking. I
for.
mean, it is an absolutely amazing port.
Yes.
And having seen it from the cliffs above, I can only begin to imagine what it's like to come in by sea. So that's definitely something I would love to be able to do. Um, so that's kind of where I am at the moment, sort of a combination now of perhaps some seabound work on travel, and also our traditional find a villa, find a place, and hold up there and have one heck of a nice time.
So you wouldn't go to Iceland with me to see the Northern Lights?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, I'd do that too. Yeah.
You can go to Labrador and see the Northern Lights. So that's within Canada, and you can go there this year.
The,
I'll see you at the top of
or to
Horngap
bathe in
Mountain.
the blue. You can bathe in the Blue Lagoon as well in Iceland for all those
Yeah.
for those medicinal purposes.
Hmm.
That's
So
right.
Gail and Paul, what's your thought on your bucket list and how to fulfill?
Well, I think I'm going to say like 15 years ago, while visiting the Sullys out in Brigus, one night we all sat down and wrote down our top places to go to. There was two other couples with us that night, and the one that came out on top was the Mediterranean cruise.
Yeah.
And it's been talked about, kicked around, half booked. I had research done, I had it narrowed down to 3 different itineraries, and we're that close to ordering it. And then, one couple couldn't make that date. Another couple. Anyway, the long and short of it was that everybody had a problem with finding a date. 15 years later, we still haven't done it. It's somewhere still on the bucket list.
Yes, it is.
Well, we can take a look at those. We can put a few optional dates in there for you.
You know, it took me 30 years to get back to England, so maybe it'll take me 30 years to get to the Mediterranean. I don't know.
Well,
Oh,
well,
my.
if we can pin you down a date, you'll probably have another couple come with you because that's Michelle's top bucket list as well is to do the Mediterranean. So,
Yes.
and we were
Well,
supposed to do
if you're looking for something to do, seriously, take a look at what cruise ships will go into Valletta in Malta, and what are the same ones will do a portion of the Greek islands.
I think,
Usually, unless you're doing a really long cruise, and Derek can answer this better than me, typically Malta is sort of like the west end of the Mediterranean, and the Greek islands are the east end. And no one tends to do the two ends unless you're on a 14-day cruise.
yeah, well, I think
We could do 14 days.
if
That'd be
memory
okay.
serves me correct, Regency Cruise Line.
Mhm.
They do both as part of their world tour, so you can go
Yeah.
in on
Okay.
part of their world
Yeah.
tour cruise,
Yeah.
and you purchase you buy certain segments of that tour, and I'm not sure if they're all under one or different, but it's definitely something you look into. And I actually invite you and others. Regent, the representative from Regent, is coming on next month with me to talk about the Mediterranean and their product and so on. So,
Oh, neat.
There'll be sort of a segment that comes up the Suez Canal and that way.
yeah,
So you do pick it up in India, you come through the Suez Canal and into the Mediterranean and keep on going. Okay, that sounds good.
Sure does.
I mean, for me, I want to be able to go see the pyramids at some point.
Oh,
And,
yeah. That's
you know, I've
Well, let's keep talking, Derek.
lots of
may just
ideas to
have-
come out.
yeah, I mean, there's as many ideas as there are people. So,
Yeah.
and I think it's important, and I'm so happy to be able to have you on today, just so other people who are thinking about travel, thinking about the cautions and some of the anxieties they might have due to the pandemic, that they're not, everybody is doing pretty well has the same thought process, and it's just a matter of, I guess, stepping up and making your decisions on where you want to go and when you want to go. And I mean, I know I'm in the business of assisting people and advising, but again, it all comes down to everyone's individual personal choice on when they want to do anything and so on. Right?
Yeah.
So from
Well,
that,
we'll
I
certainly
just
look
want to.
forward to future chats about all this, that's for sure. Half the fun is the planning.
It is, and I must say, when I did your first one back in 20, well, I guess we started, Kevin, in 2017, and you traveled
That's
in
right.
2018, uh, and I think
And
you
then
went
again in
four,
19.
again in 19, and you did what, 4 countries? Started
Yeah.
off in Amsterdam and the Netherlands, into Belgium, into France, and then ended up in the UK. So. Uh, and a lovely little villa that you stayed in just outside of Arras.
That was gorgeous.
But there was one question now when the 4 travel and then you have some other people. Who's the best cook, Kevin or Paul?
Well,
I
now
have,
that's a toss-up. It depends on what's being cooked because they each have their specialties. And so I would say I'd happily eat from either of their plates. So.
I wouldn't eat my own barbecuing.
He doesn't
Well,
mean
you
hot
would,
dog.
but only under duress.
He doesn't mean hot dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I will say publicly that the barbecue that Paul did do when I had the supper with you one night at the chalet
Hmm.
there was delicious. So I never got a chance to test Kevin's culinary skills.
Well, it'll be indoors.
Well,
Oh,
again, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It's been a pleasure. It's been a pleasure to help you plan your vacations, and I look forward to being able to do more of that in the future when you're ready to decide what you want to be able to do and when you want to be able to go. So, again, thank you so much for being part of my show.
Thanks for
well,
having us.
You're welcome. It was fun.
pleasure.
All right. Well, take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. And to my listeners, we look forward to seeing you again next week at the same time. Thank you. Have a great day.